Yo, what's going on guys? Arekkz here, welcome back to another Anthem video, and today I want to talk to you about elements. There are 4 elements in Anthem: fire, ice, lightning, and acid, and all 4 of these are useful in different ways. You will use them to combo. If you guys have seen my video from yesterday going over how combos work, then you'll better understand them, but outside of that they also have their own personal properties. So in this video I want to go over everything you need to know about elements. So if you do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below if you have any questions, and of course, if you haven't entered our giveaway for the limited edition Super Smash Bros. Nintendo Switch, be sure to click that link in the description box down below. Now, to begin with, as mentioned, there are 4 elements: fire, ice, lightning, and acid. And different javelins will of course have access to different elements. The Ranger is the only javelin that, through its abilities, actually has access to all 4, meanwhile most javelins have access to at least 2 or 3 of them. And when it comes to actually using these, there are 2 main things you need to know: their use against enemies with shields, and just their general use against enemies when their shields are down. So starting on the shield front, if you are fighting any enemies with shields, be that energy or physical, then learning how to use your elements is a quicker, more efficient way to deal with those shields. If you're fighting enemies with energy shields, think say the enemy storms that float up and they actually have those physical bubble shields, then if you use either ice or lightning abilities against these, they will do bonus damage to the energy shields, meaning you can take them down faster. And while of course early game this might not necessarily be that relevant to you, when you start getting towards the harder, higher end game content, then this is definitely something you are going to want to factor in. Meanwhile, on the other side of the spectrum, when it comes to physical shields, if you think about things like say the Scar Heavy, then acid and fire deals bonus damage to those. So when it comes to dealing with shields, if you have an enemy, say wasting your bullets, firing them into the shields, trying to take them down, which can take quite a while depending on the difficulty you're playing on, use your abilities and use the elements that work. However, when the enemies don't have their shields down, or if they're just an enemy that inherently doesn't have a shield, then there's also something else you need to factor in. First things first, when it comes to fire, quite simply, this is a damage over time. When an enemy has the fire effect placed on it, it will gradually take tick damage because it's on fire, it's burning, kind of makes sense, really. So of course, if you have any of these abilities, and even if you're not setting up a combo and you just simply want to deal more damage, then by setting enemies on fire, you're of course dealing more damage over time. Meanwhile, if you switch over to something like acid, if you apply that effect, while, logically speaking, it might seem like acid would also be a dot, in actual fact, it doesn't deal damage over time. What it does is weaken the enemy and make it so that they take more damage when they have the effect applied. So you can essentially use this as like a debuff. If you apply the acid status effect and then you start dealing damage to that enemy, be that through your guns or your abilities, they will take more damage. So acid is definitely very useful in high level activities, in groups. If you can say, throw it onto a boss and you can all pile damage into it, it is definitely something you want to take full advantage of. As for frost, this one is pretty self-explanatory. You've probably seen this one before. When you freeze an enemy, they are, you guessed it, frozen. They're not moving, they're basically very vulnerable. This is pretty good if you're fighting something like a Scar Heavy. You can freeze them and run around the back and try and shoot them in the weak points. If you're fighting, say, turrets, that can be a little bit of a pain. Then you can freeze them, spin around and get to the tank at the back and shoot that. That is a good way to deal with enemies that, say, have vulnerable weak spots, or just in general, it's a good way to freeze a crowd of enemies and giving you a chance to then line up a nice, devastating combo. And then finally, when it comes to lightning, this will apply a shock status effect to the enemy, and initially this will do a small spike of damage, and then following that it will also damage nearby enemies. So again, if you use this in a crowd, say use it on some trash mobs, and you apply the status to an enemy in the middle, that enemy will take some spike damage, and then some of the surrounding enemies will also be damaged. So that, my friends, is pretty much all you need to know about elements. Just a super quick video, but it's one of those things that, again, you want to understand because you can start factoring this into your builds. When you know what you're going to be fighting, you might want to choose your abilities accordingly. And of course, if you're then also pairing that with your knowledge about combos, then, these two can tie hand in hand. So that's what you need to know. Hopefully you found it useful. Again, be sure to keep it locked because we've got plenty more Anthem videos coming your way. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to check out some more awesome stuff from us here at Arekkz Gaming, then you should definitely try to catch TwoSixNine and Paradise Central streaming 6 days a week. You can find a link to the multi-stream in the description box down below. They play a wide range of games, and what's more, we also have the end game store. By watching their streams, you earn currency, and you can redeem that currency on the endgame store for really cool prizes. Those can range from things like games, comics, and figures, all the way up to controllers, capture cards, and even consoles. So definitely drop by and become part of the community. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, then make sure you're subscribed and be sure to click on that little bell icon to turn on notifications so you don't miss our next upload. You can watch more videos by clicking on the options here, but once again, thanks very much for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.